Hi, friends. So good to be with you today. I've got a question I want to ask you. What if somebody called you a has-been, a wannabe, never will be, or other names? I mean, different names might come to mind as to what somebody might call you that might be just a little bit distasteful. Why would that bother you? Why does that matter? Have you thought about that? The reason is because names mean something. Now, we don't think about it so much nowadays. It's amazing when somebody goes to pick out a name for their new child, they'll go through the book and they'll think, well, that's something that everybody likes, or that's pretty, without ever realizing that there is an actual definition, a meaning to that name. Have you ever thought about the fact that maybe your name might be a prophecy about what your life is to fulfill? See, we have to understand the power of words and the power of saying things. I mean, when you say something, you're created in the image of God. I don't know whether you realize that or not, but you're created in the image of God, and your words are creative, just like His words are creative. Now, that's a powerful responsibility. And when you say something, it creates an environment. I mentioned the other day, like you were like a thermostat. I said a lot of people are like thermometers. They go around and they just reflect the atmosphere that they're in. If it's 90 degrees, they say, my God, it's 90 degrees. It's 90 degrees. It's terrible out there. But a thermostat comes in and doesn't deny the fact that it's 90 degrees. They acknowledge, they look around, they'll say, well, it's 90 degrees. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to adjust the environment. We're going to begin to adjust the environment. And so that's what they begin to do. They begin to change the feel of the environment around them. Well, you have to understand that an environment can be created by things that are said, words that are created, things that are set in motion. Your words actually carry a sense of creativity because, like I said, you're created in the image and the likeness of God. What He's like, that's how you were created. In His image, His likeness. His words are creative. Your words are creative. And it was so much so that when you say something, now it may not just like a magic wand flip it from one side to the other, but what it does is it sets something in motion. Everything in life operates off the seed, plant, harvest principle. Everything. Whether you know it or not, you're living in the harvest of the seeds that you planted some time back. Could have been days, it could have been weeks, could have been years ago. But make no mistake about it. The seeds were planted, and that's the harvest that you're reaping is the thing. You want to change what you're receiving, you have to change what you're sowing. But your words become the seed. Your words become the things that set something in motion. And when you are called by a name, that name becomes a prophecy for your life to fulfill. We find in the Bible several places, and you can go through and you can check it out, where God found people and He wanted to specifically identify their destiny. This is what you're going to fulfill. And so He would change their name accordingly. Like, for instance, the name from Abram to Abraham, which meant you are the father of many nations. Well, he wasn't the father of many nations, but what God was doing was starting it in motion. Sometimes it starts in motion slow, but make no mistake about it. As you begin to say it over and over and over, it begins to take place. He changed Abram's name to Abraham. Sarah, He changed Sarah's name to Sarah. Now, there's things that we can get into about the names of God and how it applies to that. But the fact is that He changed their name because He was identifying their destiny. You understand that? When the blessing was to come on Jacob, how did God bless him? God blessed him by changing his name. Your name is no longer Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. He changed Simon's name to Peter. I mean, you can just find all the way through where names were changed because God wanted their destiny to not lose the momentum of the destiny that they were going to fulfill. The danger is that so often we allow other people to name us, and for the most part, prophesy over us what our future is going to hold. Did you know that? I mean, I'm thinking of the life of Jacob. Jacob, that's the twin brother to Esau. Esau was born first, and they said that when Jacob and Esau was born, that Esau was born first, and that Jacob, his hand had hold of Esau's heel. And that was the perception, not from God. God didn't call him Jacob. Jacob actually meant, at that time, the name Jacob meant heel catcher, trickster. You understand? And that wasn't God's perception of him. He was the children of Abraham, the grandchildren of Abraham. The blessing was on them. But because of people's perception of what they saw, they called him that. I believe that the people called. Now, that happened a lot whenever John the Baptist was born. You remember Elizabeth and Zacharias. He had been struck basically dumb. He couldn't say anything until John was born. He wrote down his name as John, and the people around said, but no, his name's not to be John because nobody else in your family is named John. Now, the point is the fact that the community, the family members, they were involved in the naming of the child. And so in this time with Jacob, that's what the deal was. And Jacob's name came as a result of someone's perception of them. And so we have to understand, if we're not careful, we'll allow other people to set the pace for what we become. Society, people around us, what they call us. Because what they call us, eventually, we start to call ourselves. We begin to believe that about our lives. That becomes the watermark for our life. Do you understand what I'm saying? See, you believe something about yourself. You do. You believe, well, and it could be in a negative sense. You could believe, well, I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. Nobody likes me. I have difficulty making friends. Well, I'm just grouchy. Well, I don't have the education. If only I were, all kinds of things that we label ourselves with and thereby limit who we are becoming. And see, that's the case so many times. People are named and it becomes a limitation in their life. I'm thinking of Jabez, sorrow bringer. That's what that name means. Now, a lot of times people in their pain would name their children something that reflected that. I mean, can you imagine naming your son sorrow bringer? What a name to carry for yourself your whole life. Sorrow bringer. Hard to get a date with sorrow bringer. Hey, honey, sorrow bringer's coming to dinner tonight with our daughter. Are you kidding me? But that was what his mother named him. In her sorrow, she identified him through her sorrow. Her grief became the filter by which she identified this boy named Jabez. And Jabez, the Bible said, called upon the Lord. He reached a point in his life and he called upon the Lord and he asked the Lord, he said, enlarge my borders. See, what that means is the identity that you carry is the very thing that identifies your boundaries in life. It keeps you boxed in. It keeps you landlocked. You know what I'm saying? You can't go this way or that way. And so it said God heard him. He said, I'm asking that you would enlarge my boundaries, enlarge my borders, help me to break out of the box that I've been in. And it said that God heard his cry. See, sometimes you have to go to the God of covenants, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and ask the Lord to help you to reach beyond the boundaries for which other people have named you or identified you. I mean, it's very important because this means something. I realize people just sometimes, I think they just name their kids something because it's pretty. You know, I was talking to somebody sometime, I said, you know, they name their kid, it could be, the meaning of the name could mean Lucifer is loose in the nursery. But it's pretty, so we're going to name him that without any indication of the commission that name gives that child. I mean, we find this. I was raised in Oklahoma, and there was a very strong Indian culture in that, obviously, throughout Oklahoma. And it was very well known how many of the names that they gave their sons, their daughters, actually had meanings. It was destination. It was an identity of what they were to become. Well, all through the Old Testament, you find that same thing because it's a principle. I mean, it's the very thing that defines your life, the name that you have called for yourself. You know, we have the story of Jacob, and it's so important because when he talked to the angel, you remember he was going to meet Esau, and he'd gone through such a terrible time with Laban, his uncle. And he struck out from Laban, and he took Rebekah and Leah, and he took the other wives, and they were leaving, and his children, they were leaving. And it said that he had a moment there where he wrestled with an angel, and the angel said, let me go. And he said, I won't let you go till you bless me. And the way he blessed him, he changed his name from Jacob, everybody else's perception of him, to Israel. Changed his name from heel catcher, trickster, to a prince that has power with God and man. That's what the name Israel meant. And it's so important that you understand the value of who you are called, because Jacob understood it. As a matter of fact, Jacob, on their way, they were coming through Bethany, and in the process, they were on their way, and his wife was going to have a child, and she died there. I mean, it was terrible. Rachel, they were on their way, and they got to Bethany, and the Bible said that in childbirth she died, in her travail. But in the moment, they said, be of good cheer, you're going to have a son. And in her dying breath, she said, his name is Benoni, the son of my sorrow. The son of my sorrow. See, the fact is, it wasn't that she was a bad person. It was that she named him out of her pain. See, sometimes people have identified you not because they're trying to be mean to you or even because there's anything wrong with you. Sometimes people just do it because they're in pain, and you can't allow that to happen. Now, Jacob had already been through what it was to have a name that meant something that was unattractive. Heel catcher, trickster. He knew what that was, and he fought. He wrestled with God for the blessing to change his name to Israel. And when Rachel called his name Benoni, the son of my sorrow, Jacob stepped up and he said, no, that's not what his name is going to be. His name is not going to be Benoni, but Benjamin will be his name. Benjamin is what it's going to be, which means the son of my right hand. See, there's times in your life, and you need to understand this, both for yourself and for your children, there's times when we need to interrupt the direction of our children's lives, of their friends' lives, their families' lives. And sometimes you have to say, no, that's not who you are. Sometimes you have to fight for the identity of that. You have to begin to declare that's not what you are. You have to declare you're not going to be a curse. You're going to be a blessing. It's very important that you do that. And that's within your authority. The Bible tells you to bless and curse not. Well, why would he tell you not to if you couldn't? See, that's within your authority. And I think we've grossly underestimated the power of our words and what we identify ourselves and our children with. It's very important that you realize the power of what you say. And you need to think twice before you speak, because your words and your influence will plant seeds of either success or failure in the hearts and the minds of other people. And that is the truth. I'm just telling you something. You have to know in your heart that what you're saying is carrying your faith, your determination, what you see. You're helping to shape the identity. That's why encouragement is so important. It's so easy. People are going around nowadays and they're being so mean and so disrespectful. And you have to make up your mind, I'm going to be an encouragement. I'm not going to be someone who brings discouragement. How are you going to do that? You do it with your words, with what you say, how you help frame the lives of those that are round about you. And you don't go around calling people jerks or has-been or punks or whatever the case is. I think it's very important. I have seen dads, fathers deal with their sons, more so probably with their sons than with their daughters, but they would just call them just horrible names. And I maybe they're trying to roughhouse with them a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with roughhousing. Sometimes some of these boys need to be roughed up a little bit. They need to, that brings something out in them. But you be careful what you call them. What you call them, that your words are creative, and it sets something in motion. And it will set something in motion on two levels. It will set something in motion in their minds, which once you get it in their minds, what they do is they open their heart to it, and it becomes something that becomes part of their identity. So it certainly sets something in mind from that standpoint, but you have to also understand that your words are spiritual, and words don't just go in your ears and rattle around in that empty spot up there, but it goes in there, it goes down into your spirit, into your heart, and it literally becomes part of who you are. Words are spiritual. Words are, we may utter as a form of communication, a language or whatever, but you have to understand, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks and brings forth what's on the inside of there. See, it's what's in the spirit of man that empowers the words to be creative. It's the out of the abundance of the heart. When something comes out of my spirit and I say it out of my mouth, my words become vehicles that carry the forces of life. The Bible said, guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it flow the forces of life. King James says the issues of life, but look at a couple of other translations. It's much, much deeper than that. The very forces of life, the dynamo that's within your spirit is released. It's into whatever with your words. And when you have somebody that you're constantly calling them, let's say, for instance, you're constantly calling them an idiot. I go back to how, unfortunately, many times people in their family, they'll find some boys, you're just a moron, you're just an idiot. You can't do anything right. And they don't understand. See, God changed Abram's name to Abraham because that was it, to where every time someone called him for dinner, they were speaking a prophetic word over his life. And I want you to know something, that works with your children, with your life. You need to not call your children, and you need to not call yourself somehow, well, seem like I mess up everything. Well, that's not true. That's not true. You don't need to identify yourself as somebody who is constantly failing. Well, I'm just a failure. I just mess up everything. It just seems like, everything I touch falls apart. That's not who you are. That is not who you are, and you don't need to attach that to the name or to the identity by which you define yourself. You do not go there, because what that does, that shapes the boundaries for your life as to who you're becoming. Because I'm just telling you something. I know in my heart, I am at my age, I am at the beginning of one of the strongest and most powerful seasons of my entire lifetime. Something wonderful is unfolding for me. I can sense it. I can feel it. But I'm also declaring it. And I'm not just declaring it like, it's kind of like the optimist in hell. I'm not here and it's not hot. That's not what I'm saying. There's something coming out of me that I know that it's true, and I'm saying it. I'm declaring it. Something powerful is unfolding. The days in front of me are going to be days of strength and days of great revelation and great days of great productivity. I'm intending to enjoy every moment of it. Well, that is an attitude that is filtering all of the forces that come out of my life, is being formed and shaped through what I have said. I'm designing a picture. See, the forces of your life, it's almost like the seed that goes into the ground. The ground doesn't care whether it's an apple seed or an orange seed. Did you know that? It just grows what's in there. Whatever you put in there grows. What does the ground care? So what the difference is what you put in the ground. It'll try to grow anything. I mentioned this the other day. I don't care if you have a fence post. It'll try to grow that fence post it'll rot that wood trying to grow it. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to grow it. It'll break it down. It's trying to grow it. Well, so the forces within you are creative, and it can create negative as much as it can create positive. Does that make sense to you? What's in you doesn't care what it is. It just grows it. So what you have to do is, with your understanding of your mind, your will, your emotions, your spirit man, you are defining the filter through which that power comes out of your spirit. And it grows that image, that picture. What do you see? See, because we all believe something about ourselves. That's why God took Abraham out when he was separated from Lot and said, Abraham, I want you to look up. I want you to see all of the stars. You see that? And of course, I'm just telling you one thing. If you have never had a time to get away from the city and look up and see the bazillion stars that are up there, it's magnificent beyond words. It truly is. But God said to Abraham, that's what your seed's going to be like. The sands of the sea, the stars of heaven. He was defining the picture so that his faith that came out of him was filtered through that picture. See, there is something you need to see about yourself. And if all you ever feel like is, I'm a failure. Well, the forces coming from your spirit is going to produce that failure. Again and again and again. So what I want to do is create an image that what I see is one of success, one of strength, one of blessing, one of favor. And then the forces, when they come out of my spirit, they create that image, and my words set it into motion. That's why it's so important. what you say, what you believe about yourself, what you allow other people to say about you, things that define you. I absolutely refuse. I don't care if something goes wrong. Well, big darn deal. It goes wrong and it all falls apart. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are problem solvers. We're going to fix it, and we're going to get back up on our feet, and we're going to move forward. Hey, listen, the wind blows on everybody. The waves blow on everybody. You remember when Jesus gave the illustration of the house that was built on the sand and the one that was built on the rock? The wind blew on both of them. Both of them was hit with the winds and the waves. You know, I want to just say the possibilities of you getting gut punched by something, well, that could happen. You know, I'm not surprised that it happens. You know, the thing that's discouraging is when people just lay there on the ground. Hey, listen, if you've been disappointed, get up. If you've been hurt, get up. If you've been taken advantage of, that's not what's going to define you. You're not going to be someone who's just defined as, well, it always goes wrong for me. You know, no matter what I do, it's just going to fall apart on me. You ain't telling me that. That's not who I am. Am I going to face some problems? Well, I don't really care. Now, what does that have to do with anything? We'll all face problems, but we are problem solvers. And we're not staying in that mess. I guarantee you, I am on my way to blessing. I'm going to be blessed coming in, going out. I'm blessed in the field. I'm blessed in the store. I am blessed in all I put my hands to. Do you understand that? So I see that. I see that. Jeremiah chapter 1, God came to Jeremiah and said, Jeremiah, what do you see? And then he came to him 5 minutes later and said, again, Jeremiah, what do you see? 3 times there he came and said, what do you see? Because what you see becomes the watermark for your life. Because the forces of your spirit come through and filter what you see, and that's what you become. I want to say it again. The forces in you don't care whether it's a blessing or a cursing. It's going to produce whatever you put in there. That's why the Bible said, bless and curse not. Why would he tell you not to curse if you didn't have the ability to do it? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is why it's so important. So you need to change the vocabulary through which the forces of your spirit are filtered, because that shapes your future. Don't allow things to box you in. Well, I don't have the right education. Well, I wasn't born on the right side of the tracks. I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. I was born in the wrong country. I was born, listen to me. There's been people from other countries that has washed up on the shores of the United States of America with $5 in their pocket and became multimillionaires. Don't tell me how because you face this or that somehow you can't do it. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. The problem is never in your surroundings. The problem is in the perception of yourself, because the forces of your spirit are coming up and creating that which you believe and see about yourself. And so it's so important. If all you have is a sickness mentality, well, let me just tell you something. That's what your body's going to produce, and it's going to produce it in abundance. If all you have is a poverty mentality, well, you'll talk that way, you'll live that way, you'll skimp, you'll operate by fear. Your whole behavior will be shaped to accommodate the forces of the spirit that comes out of you. You understand what I believe about myself is creating the mechanism that filters the forces of life or death that comes out of my spirit. My spirit don't care. My spirit will produce death just like it'll produce life. It will. My spirit can produce junk just like it can produce something good. I'm trying not to overdo this, but I think it's really important that you realize this. Your spirit doesn't care It's like the ground doesn't care if it's an apple seed or an orange seed. It just grows what's in there. That's what your spirit does. So what you have to do is hear what God said about you. And what that does is that begins to create the vehicle that shapes who you are becoming and what you're going to do. See, it creates the watermark, so to speak, for your life. And sometimes some people, the watermark's very low. They drown every time it sprinkles. Dear God, they drown in 1 inch water. Oh, come on now. I want you to lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't let the name that other people have tried to define you by define you. Don't let that happen. I'm just telling you, don't let it happen. Well, I'm just old. I can't do it anymore. What a delightful thing to say about yourself. Don't listen. If that's the way you're going to talk, don't come talking to me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about, well, dear God, I'm old. And you know what? My knees are supposed to go when I'm old. And my kidneys are not working right. My heart used to work good, but it's not working anymore. And that happens when you get old. Okay, well, maybe that's how society has framed it. And we believe it, and the forces of your spirit rise up and produce it. It's fact. Woo! It's a fact. Do you have courage to believe what I'm saying? If you do, you're going to change what you're saying. You're going to change what you see about yourself. Listen, I don't care. I don't care if you have to go find a picture in a magazine and put your face on it to where you change your image about you that you're looking at. And I'm not trying to just, this is more than just positive thinking. It is not that. It's deeper than that. This isn't some just kind of massaging with my thought. This is something that I have within my spirit, the power to create, the power, a dynamos power that is on the inside of me that rises up and produces what I say. You're going to have whatsoever you say. Jesus talked about that. He said, whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but believe those things which he saith, those shall come to pass. He'll have whatsoever he saith. Now that's a principle of heaven and earth that Jesus quoted. And then Jesus just backed it up by saying, therefore I say unto you whatsoever things you desire. When you pray, believe that you receive them and you shall have them. Now what he's saying there is that your words, your prayer becomes the mold for your faith to fulfill. Faith without corresponding actions is dead. So what I've got to do is what I see and what I believe becomes the mold that I pour my faith into. And if that mold is that of a healed man or a prosperous man, then boom, suddenly my faith produces that prosperous man, that healed man. But your faith is going to be the result of what you see and what that life force that comes out of you that produces that. So change what you're seeing. Change what you're saying. Because I believe with all my heart that the days in front of you are to be the most prosperous days that you've ever had. Quit saying I'm sick. Well, I just feel like I'm lying if I don't say I'm sick. Well, why don't you just learn the vocabulary of silence and just not say anything? If you can't say something that's faith-filled, if you can't say something that's positive, then just shut up. And I sure don't want you talking about me. If you got something to say about me, please say you look good, but you sound good. You're going to live 1,000,000 years. I mean, well, you know what? My life expectancy is not very long. Are you kidding me? Why would you say those things? Because that's what your spirit man's going to produce. Those are the words. That's the apple seed. That's the orange seed that you're putting in the ground. Your spirit's going to grow it, baby. It's going to grow it. What are you growing in your life? That's the question. So that was what was in my heart, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. Your name, your identity, your future. What does it look like? What is the image by which the forces of your spirit are rising up and filtering through to produce? What does that image look like? Maybe you need to change what you are looking at. Change what you're saying. Change what you're believing, because out of your belly will flow rivers of living water. Out of your spirit man comes the forces of life. The forces of life. It's powerful. It's powerful. All right. I want to help you. I've got a lot of things that you can go to, look at our resources that I think will help you. You can go to the podcast and on YouTube, and you can see where I have many opportunities, lots of resources there for you to help define who you are and who you're becoming. I know it will help you. I really do. I know it will help you. So please, for me, please push like and push share and push subscribe. And it'll be something that will be very much of a help to me. All right? Love you guys. Thank you for joining me. I'm very excited about your future. I am. I'm telling you. I believe in your future. Great things are ahead. All right. I'm going to plan on talking to you later. I want you to have a blessed and a great evening. God bless you. Hey, thank you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.